Hi. So here's the problem. Unless you're a big company, a very large company, with its own vendor management office or its own procurement office, it is virtually impossible for you and your company to go into the marketplace today and buy a cybersecurity product or buy a cloud services product in any kind of reasonable fashion where you end up with the best product possible. It's just too difficult to do because the field of cybersecurity and cloud services is just too complex and there are too many products, and it takes a particular kind of process to go through a vendor assessment process to find the product and narrow it down and buy it. The problem is just too tough. Therefore, you'll end up with an inferior product and your network will not be protected properly. That's the problem. But let's back up just a little bit. My name is Ray Hutchins. I have two small companies, Denver Cybersecurity and Denver Web Services. I'm located in the Denver area, obviously. Anyway, some years ago I had like 600 websites related to my Denver Web Services. And I was finding myself defending them all the time from attack and hacking and whatnot. So that got me going and learning about cybersecurity. And over a period of time I developed a passion for it and an interest in it. And so I got into the cybersecurity business. So being in the cybersecurity business, actually being in there doing assessments, doing mitigation, doing frontline work for clients, protecting their networks, defending them, fixing their problems, I learned something very important. And that is this problem. I learned about this problem that people were having, small companies and even big companies were having, going out into the marketplace and trying to purchase cybersecurity products and cloud services products, which, by the way, in the cloud services side of things, the main consideration nowadays is security in that. But the problem buying these products, because it's so difficult to do. So let's talk about that for a second. If you're going to do a correct job in vendor assessment, which is what this is called, as part of the IT supply chain, vendor assessment, for cybersecurity product or cloud services, what you've got to do is this. First of all, you have to define your list of requirements. What do you need in a product? Let's take, for an example, firewalls. Now, firewalls, by the way, in the cybersecurity product category, there are over 90 different cybersecurity product categories. Not products, not companies, categories. Like firewalls, like security awareness training, like data loss prevention, like encryption. You know, all these different product categories, there's over 90 of them out there right now. So, we're going to just focus on firewalls right now for a second. So with firewalls, first thing, if you're going to buy a new firewall, and you probably want a next generation firewall, but you're going to have to define your list of requirements. Well, defining a list of requirements is a big challenge. There can be, if you're going to do it properly, well, what kind of firewall do you need? What category firewall is? What are you trying to protect? Is it a cloud-based firewall? Is it a premise-based firewall? All kinds of little things have to go into the process of getting your requirements defined. In an ideal situation, you'll have a little decision tree that you go through and you answer some basic questions. And then once you answer a few questions, then you will define your requirements. That's step number one. Next step that you have to do in the process, to do it right, again, do it right, you would have to have a list of all the firewall company manufacturers, all of them. And then you have to have a list of all the products that each one of them make. And then after that you have to have a list of all the feature sets of all those products. Okay? It's a lot of work to assemble all of that and bring all that together. So first you have to define your requirements, very time consuming. Next you have to do the companies, the products, the features. And then you have to match up the requirements with all that and narrow down that number of companies. Let's say that there are 35 firewall companies, and let's say between them they have 160 different products for different types of firewalls and all this stuff. And let's say you put your requirements in there, and let's say that narrows it down to 15 companies or something like that. Well, if you've got the right list of requirements and whatnot, you can narrow that down some more. And let's say you've got five companies. Let's say you're down to 5 companies now. You've done a thorough job at this point. You know what the market is. You know what your requirements are. You've done a very good job, and you've got it narrowed down to 5 companies. And maybe one of your requirements had to do with price, what you could afford. Maybe that was part of it. So now at this point, but you're still not done. Because remember, your goal at this point is to have a relationship, to buy a firewall with a company and to form a relationship with a company that is a long-term, non-adversarial relationship. Because they're going to be protecting your network for a long time to come under the right conditions. So you want to take your vendor assessment a bit further. You want to know, is this company financially secure? Or are there any financial hiccups on the horizon? Are there any lawsuits on the horizon? What kind of patents, what kind of relationships do they have with other companies? Where is their code written? Is their code written in China by any chance? You know, that could be a problem. Do they have any government relationships? Do they have any significant vendor relationships that you could get information from? What is the sentiment in the marketplace about the company? What are people saying in the IT support forums about how they support their product? What are people saying about how well the product works and whatnot, if they're having any problems with it? What are they saying about if someone is trying to, doesn't like the product and wants to give it back to something, if they can get a refund or whatever in there in terms of customer support? What are people saying? And you want that information up to date and accurate. Well, you can imagine collecting this information would be just an enormous undertaking, an enormous task, and it is. Now, that's the challenge for companies, and even large companies that even most large companies don't have procurement offices and vendor management offices that have the talent and the resources and the expertise in cybersecurity and cloud services to do this job. The smaller companies, forget it. They're not doing anything. So therefore, they'll just go with a vendor bias type decision. Okay, we used a SonicWall firewall last time. Call the SonicWall guy up and let's do another one. See what the latest they have. But by doing so, you are not making the best decision you can make for your company. So what's the answer? Well, what else is out there? Well, you've got IDC, you've got Forrester, you've got Gartner, you've got these research firms, and they're supposed to be helping with vendors, but it's very expensive and very limited in scope. They don't go into all this detail. They do collect information, and they can be of assistance in part of these processes, but you've got to have a lot of money, and you're not going to get all the information. At the very high end, Veracode, sharedassessments.org, you spend $55,000, $60,000, you can get some assistance at the very high end, at the enterprise level. But for the rest of us out here, there's just nothing there. So after seeing this problem and learning about it and learning the challenge and the critical nature of it, when all of us are depending on our networks and depending on the security of our networks, I thought, I think I'm going to develop a solution for this. And so I'm currently developing a software solution, a software application, an online software application where this work, where 95% of this work, what I just described to you about defining requirements, having a database that contains all the cybersecurity companies, all the products, all the feature sets, and having it where you go in when you're defining your requirements, you go through the decision tree online, and you reach the firewall that you want or the other product you want. All your requirements are right there. You just check off the ones that you want, the ones that fit your situation, and then after you check those off, then the software itself does the match up on this stuff. While yes, it's an enormous amount of information, an enormous amount of work, once you get the database built correctly, that's what computers do. They do all this heavy lifting. And so this solution will do all that heavy lifting, will reduce 95%, probably more actually. I'm using the number 95% because I'm going to do all this grunt work is going to be taken out of it for you, where you will just have the companies that best suit your requirements, and then a dashboard with financial indicator, legal indicator, sentiment indicator, etc., etc., etc. There's lots of indicators, but they're just like, green, yellow, red kind of a stuff you can see, but you could drill down on it and get the information that you want. But puts you in a position very quickly and very inexpensively so that you can have that work done, save you that time, save you that money, and get the information you need so you can make good, solid decisions. So whether you're a CEO, a COO, CFO, CIO, CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, or whether you're an IT consultant, this tool is the tool, whether you're investing in cybersecurity or cloud services companies, you need this information to make a thorough analysis of these companies and understand where they stand in the food chain of the competitors in there. So I'm developing this product. And we're in a process. Stage one, if you want to think about developing a software product of this complexity, and this is a very complex and elegant solution, think over here, the Golden Palace. That is your completed project over here. Think of it as a skyscraper, a Golden Palace. Well, first you have to do an architectural design of this thing, and it's a very complex IT architecture. And so that has been done, and currently, and before you build the Golden Palace, you want to build what we like to call a tiki hut. It's a small version of the Golden Palace, but it's fully functional. And instead of having all 90 domains, all 90 cybersecurity product categories, it will have 5. And so this is under development at this time. If you've made it this far in this video and you have an interest in this product, in knowing more about what we're doing and how it may benefit you and benefit your company and save you money, please give me a call. I'm Ray Hutchins. Thank you for your time today.